Yeah. Good evening, participants. Welcome to this 23rd Quality Cafe session on understanding audit quality maturity model. We have with us CA Pramod Jain, who is convener, and Prasanna Kumar D, sir, who is Vice President ICAI. I request Pramod Jain, sir, to welcome Vice President and to start the session, sir.
Welcome, everybody. Very honorable and respected the Vice President of ICI, CA Prasanna Kumar D, who hails from, I would say, a small town. If I talk about the other metros, Visakhapatnam, yeah. So if I compare,
it is really small only. Yeah, I think he's not audible. He's speaking now.
His voice is not.
Some technical problem.
Pramod, sir, we cannot hear you.
Vijay Garu, is he audible to you?
No, sir. No only.
Yeah, Pramod, you are not audible to any of us.
I think he is not.
निधि मैडम फोन करिए, निधि मैडम फोन करिए एक बार प्रमोद सर को.
yeah.
Now you are audible. Yeah, you are audible, Pramod.
Okay. Sorry. Namaste to everyone.
Namaste.
We have got today our honorable Vice President of ICI, CA Prasanna Kumar D. So I, along with my Deputy Convener, CA Vishal Doshi ji, welcome our honorable Vice President along with our moderator Vijay ji. In fact, if I talk about our Vice President sir hails from a very, very important town, a small but important town, Visakhapatnam, and he has actually given his a great amount of years to the institute, 27 years to the institute. This is his 9th year in the council, and in this 9th year, I would say 7th year in the council, and he is an avid basketball, volleyball player and a sport enthusiast. And of course, the way his energy is, the way he portrays his thoughts over the past 6 years, which we have seen, is really very, very nice, I would say. And it is really great that all our participants would be able to hear his thoughts and views about how to maintain the audit quality and the Center for Audit Quality, which this directorate is about. So I, along with my Deputy Convener Vishal Doshi ji, request our Honorable Vice President Prasanna Kumar DG to share his thought process about the audit quality processes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Respected CA Pramod Jain, the convener of the Center for Audit Quality, and the Deputy Convener CA Vishal Doshi, and another panelist CA Vijay Thotapalli, and any other panelist? Only
No.
you. Yeah. So, and my dear participants in this program. So, good afternoon to all of you. I feel privileged to come and give a short address. A program which is conducted as a Center for Audit Quality. For simple reason that Center for Audit Quality is close to my heart. That I expressed with the convener deputy convener many times. Whenever we meet each other, even in the corridors, who tell you are a very big person because you are heading the Center for Audit Quality, who has to do a lot of things in the years to come like that. So true to that. So as you are aware that the Center for Audit Quality has been established in 2020 to see that there's a continuous improvement of the audit quality. It's not a static subject. Day in and day out, using technology, using whatever the developments happening not only in our country, developments happening in the audit in the entire world, and they need to be adopted in India. And the audit quality is a present continuous subject. Okay, keeping this in view, the Center of Audit Quality was established And they have done human service to the membership during the last 4 years. Now the present incumbents, and they are also quality people. And in fact, Pramod Jain, so though he is popularly known as a tax man, so tax expert, giving tax advisory to the entire country, all the professionals. But most of the people may not know how he is connected to the audit quality, being accounting standards and the expert advisory committee, all those things related to audit quality. Is the expert in all these things. It's nice that he is the convener here. And Vishal Doshi, so people see him only quality, nothing beyond that. Nothing short of it, nothing beyond that also. so both of them made for each other. They are heading this particular committee. This committee has got a lot of roles to play because audit doesn't only limit itself to the applying the accounting standards and auditing standards. It's something beyond that. Maybe corporate we implemented almost every enactment, be it corporate laws or tax laws or all the fiscal laws. Everywhere audit is there. So it's not comprehensive when they see audit quality need to be improved in every aspect of it. Towards that objective, so CAQ has come out with many audit tools. Recently I came to know that for non-corporate entities, we have got a new formats have been designed for the financial statements. They are coming with some audit tool for that also. So how to convert? Suppose you get some data from Tally, how to convert into this particular format? So coming with audit tools like that, for bank audit, they came with a lot of audit tools. So there's a continuous process they are doing that one. So keeping this view, they came to the one maturity model just to assess, self-assess, where do you stand in the audit quality? Be it a digital infrastructure you have, be it the human resources that you have, or the physical infrastructure, everything put together comprehensively, you have to assess yourself where you stand. Sitting in your own room, you may feel that I'm a great auditor, I'm doing a great audit, but that may not be true when you make an assessment in a particular specified model. That's why they came with the audit quality maturity model 1.1, 1.0 that has come. Now, that it has seen the initial stage that, basic version has been introduced and it went very well and many members have liked it. Many members have improved their quality standards by after assessing themselves, where do they stand as far as the maturity is concerned. Now the CAQ has come up with the next level, that AQMM 2.0. This is the advanced version. And by and large, the same parameters are there, but it's advanced version. I did not go through fully, but peripheral way I understand that one. So AQMM 2.0 is implemented. And as you're all aware, those who want to conduct in listed company audit, such auditors should also be evaluated in the AQMM. So this is a part of, it's a mandatory and is a part of the peer review mechanism also, where you are evaluating as level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. See, like any other establishment, be it a hospital, service industry, or manufacturing industry, trade, commerce, everywhere, they got a system of assessing themselves as far as the quality standards are concerned, like ISO. So there's a model for that. And credit rating, there are so many ways to do the credit rating for various companies. But as far as chartered accounts are concerned, there's nothing of that sort. The only one which says your quality standards, where you place your own firm, is the AQM only the one. That is the reason why, whether it's mandatory or not, all of us, so moto, we should get under our not only self-assessment, you should be assessed by experts in this particular field to place yourself in 1, 2, 3, 4, and ultimately to see that we reach the highest level. So these are the model they brought in. I think today you got a session where, so the panelists are experts in their own field. So not only one or two standards I'm speaking about, entire quality aspects. So taking 360-degree view of the entire audit function. They are experts in that one. I'm damn sure with the deliberation that are going to take place today, all of you will enrich yourself. You don't stop here itself. Whatever you learn today, that you go and tell your friends. Maybe today some 300, 400, 500 members are attending today, but don't stop here. Go and tell them what is the importance of this particular model. So whatever you have learned, so that more participation will be there. Ultimately, the buzzword is, quality is to maintain. Compromise quality cannot be there for chartered accountants because our highest supreme audit institution, other than the CNDH in this country, number one. Number two, the integrity and ethics. These three things, we're standing on these three pillars. Any pillar, some damage is that the profession doesn't stand. It's so important. So let's all get benefit out of the deliberations today, and let's have many more programs of this kind. And I'm sure CAQ under the dynamic leadership of CA Pramod Jain and CA Vishal Doshi, they'll take them to greater heights. And I don't know whether I can tell in this public meeting or not. Subject to their becoming vice president, we'll continue them in the same same CAQ next year also. Because both cannot become. Only one of them can become maximum. Other possible certainly continue here to see that continuation is there and the quality standards are improved in our country. Thank you very much with this. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity to come and address all the members today. Thank you.
Great, sir. Exceptionally, sir. Exceptionally wonderfully spoken and gave the background of that. I'll request our deputy convener Vishal Doshi ji to extend his thought process about the deliberation which our vice president has given, because this would be really setting the benchmark for the members at large. Vishal bhai, please.
Yeah, a very good afternoon, friends, and very good afternoon to the Honorable Vice President, the convener, and Vijay ji, the moderator. VP sir, you have actually set the ball rolling, I would say, for this webinar. And yes, I fully agree that audit quality and the CAQD are something which is very close to your heart. And you have been regularly interacting with us because we share the very same thought which you mentioned in your opening remarks also, that this is one directorate which can actually provide useful tools and the templates and formats with respect to the small and medium practitioners, do a lot of hand-holding with them to ensure that they are able to deliver high quality audits and high quality financial statements. So thank you very much, sir, for taking us through the journey of CAQD and also the important activities that we have done, and also our vision going forward with respect to the various initiatives that we would be wanting to do under your leadership as the Vice President for this year and President for next year. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Vishal bhai.
Great, sir.
Thank you, Pramod. Thank you, Vijay. So I take
Thank
leave of
you.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to VP sir. Now to proceed with just a brief introduction. Today's session is on understanding audit quality maturity model. And as VP sir has already informed, CA Pramod Jain sir, who is convener, and CA Vishal Doshi sir, who is deputy convener of CAQ, will be the speakers, panelists basically, and CA Vijay Totapalli ji would be moderating the session. Vijay Totapalli ji is also a professional expert with about 34 years of experience, and he has served as a co-opted member of various ICI committees such as the Ind AS Implementation Committee, AASB, and Sustainability Reporting Board. So to start with, I hand over the session to you, Vijay sir. You can start with the session, sir.
Thank you, Nidhi ji. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this 23rd Quality CAFE session. And to start with, thank you, Pramod Jain ji and Vishal Joshi ji. First, let us understand the AQMM 2.0. If my first question to Pramod Jain ji is, can you share, sir, your insight on core objectives behind ICAI's introduction on audit quality maturity model, please?
Thank you, Vijay. In fact, if we talk about in the whole of the country, any financial statement which is to reflect a true and fair view, it has to comply with various professional and technical standards. And only a chartered accountant in practice or his firm is doing that. So, and all the stakeholders rely upon those financial statements now. Now, if we talk about the reliance upon those financial statements of which the audit is done by a chartered accountant, so when that audit is being done, so how is that firm itself having that quality to conduct that audit, in which way that the various stakeholders can actually, when they are relying, they can rely upon that. And when we talk about any process, it has to be a continuous improvement. It is not that the audit which was done, say, 2-3 decades ago, the same way it can be done today. It keeps on changing. So upon keeping on changing, so how to evaluate that whether they are doing it, so whether they are doing it in a way which is acceptable to all, or in fact, I say, when an auditor wants to know that whether what he's doing, whether that is a standardized process, the other auditors are also following that or not. So at that time, in 2020, the Center for Audit Quality was established, and in there it was discussed and deliberated that there has to be a audit quality maturity model whereby certain parameters are decided, where we say the questions are asked, the AQIs are there, wherein an auditor evaluates himself, so that all auditors would evaluate upon their own ways, and then it will come to know whether that, okay, how they are achieving that audit maturity where they can provide better and better services. So from that perspective, in 2021, this AQMM1 was established, and thereafter, upon, of course, keeping on that, changes are there, improvements are there. Now we have this Center for Audit Quality that came up with the Audit Quality Maturity Model version 2, which is effective from 1st April 2025. Yeah,
thank you, sir. I mean, it's nice to understand the objectives of behind the introduction of this AQMM. Having said that, could you please narrate the significant enhancements in AQMM version 2 that is distinguished from AQMM version 1? What was the major changes between 1 and 2, sir?
If I talk about it, we just discussed that the process of continuous improvement is there. So when this Center for Audit Quality, under the leadership of Vishal Doshi ji, it thought that, okay, we need to improve upon it. So say they had various sessions wherein the questions came, and then they asked that how the improvements could be made, wherein it can be made more effective. For example, in AQMM1, if I talk about emphasis, a huge emphasis was given on the human resource management. If I talk about the AQMM is divided into 3 sections. So the AQMM1, when it was there, it is there. So section 1, which is for practice management operations. Second section is human resource management. And third was practice management strategic / functional. Now this practice management was divided into 2, 1 and 3rd section. And of course, maximum scores were given with the percentages. So even this practice management, if I talk about strategy functional, it had 80 maximum marks, and operations has 280, and human resource had 240. So looking upon the various views which we got from various members of auditing firms and questions which we got, through which we thought that how to improve upon that, this AQMM2 has still got the 3 sections, but the sections have been redesigned, I would say, improvised, I would say, because there were certain items where the evaluation were a bit difficult, I would say, in the version 1. So in version 2, now there are again 3 sections, but here it is the section 1 is practice management assurance, section 2 is human resource management, and now because of advent of lot of digital technology, digital and the technology, the 3rd section is purely on the digital competency. Earlier, the digital competency was competency was inbuilt into few of the other sections of the practice management. Now it is a separate section. So now practice management has 370 maximum marks, 80 marks. So aggregate again is 600 marks only. So improvising upon this AQMM version 1, this AQMM version 2, by having more areas of their self-evaluation and enhancement of to achieve the audit maturity is there. Thank you. No. Unmute, sir. Unmute. Vijayji, unmute.
Thank you, sir. It was nice to understand the enhancement that have been there from version 1 to version 2. There was no minimum eligibility criteria in AQMM version 1. However, version 2 prescribes the minimum eligibility criteria. Vishalji, can you explain the minimum eligibility criteria a firm must meet to have a maturity level assigned under AQMM level 2? What is it necessary to have a minimum eligibility criteria, please?
Yeah, sure. So in continuation what Pramod bhai said, this is also one of the significant changes that we have done between AQMM version 1 and AQMM version 2. In the earlier version, there was no eligibility criteria, like Vijayji you mentioned. And while we were doing the discussion on the version 2, like Pramod bhai mentioned, that there are 3 sections: practice management, the human resource, and the digital competency. During our deliberations, it was discussed that in each of the section, the firm should have a minimum score for it to be eligible to be evaluated under the AQMM version 2.0. So presently the minimum threshold is 30%. So what does this mean? That in each of these 3 sections, the firm needs to score a minimum of 30%.
Vishal bhai, you have to switch off the video. It is not coming.
Vishal, sir?
Some network issue.
There from a particular firm that is there. So this is how the minimum criteria has now been made as part of the AQMM version 2.0.
Just to add it on a lighter side, Vishal bhai, just like in CA exams, you have to score 40% in each subject. If you fail in one, you have to reappear. So again here, you have to score 30% in all the 3 sections. If you don't, then again improve and then
Re-evaluate. Not reappear, but re-evaluate.
Okay, sir. You are saying that we need to go back to our CA exam. Well said, sir. So my next point is, what are all the 4 levels as defined in AQMM version 2, sir? And what does the achievement of a particular level denote? And what are all the consequences of having a low score in AQMM version? Vishal, sir, can you please explain?
So continuing that we discussed about the minimum eligibility criteria. In the AQMM, there are 4 levels of the firm that have been mentioned. Level 1, 2, 3, 4, with level 1 being the lowest and level 4 being the highest. So this is one thing we need to keep in mind, because normally we say that the person coming first is the highest and fourth is the person who comes later. But as far as AQM levels are concerned, it's the level 4 which is the highest and level 1 which is the lowest. Considering the minimum 30% criteria that is there, moving forward to that, so a firm that scores greater than or equal to 30%, but less than 50%. So the total score is 600 marks, which Pramod bhai mentioned earlier, of all the 3 sections together. And we have to take the total of all the 3 sections, divide by 600 and come to the percentage that the firm has scored. So if it is less than 30%, not eligible. If it is greater than and equal to 30% or less than 50%, then it is a level 1 firm. If it is greater than or equal to 50%, but less than 70%, then it is a level 2 firm. If it is greater than or equal to 70%, but less than 85%, then it is a level 3 firm. And if it's greater than or equal to 85% and 100%, so it cannot be less than 100%, but equal to or less than 100%, then it is a level 4 form. So these are the percentages that are there. You have 30 to 50, 50 to 70, 70 to 85, and 85 to 100. So level 1, 2, 3, 4. Now coming to the next part of the question, Vijayji, about what does these levels actually indicate? If I talk of level 1, where a firm has scored between 30 to 50, it indicates that the firm is very nascent and it will have to take immediate steps to upgrade its competency or it will be left lagging in comparison to the other firms. When we talk of level 2, where it is 50 to 70%, this indicates that the firm has made some progress, but will have to fine tune further to reach the highest level of the competency. The next, coming to level 3, which is 70 to 85%, it indicates that the firm has made substantial progress and will have to fine tune further to reach the highest level of competency. And the level 4, which is 85% and above, it indicates that firms that have made that such firms have made significant adoption of the standards and procedures, but still focus on optimizing further within that category. So if somebody has 87%, they can aim for 90. Somebody who has 90 can aim for 92, and somebody ultimate objective would be to reach 100% score for that particular firm. So this is what are the levels of the firm and what each level indicates. Over to you, Vijayji.
What will be the consequences of having a low score in AQMM, sir? Vishalji.
So the consequences, like presently, is that we are having this firm levels which are incorporated in the peer review. So they are hosted on the ICI website about what is the level of the firm. Going forward, what possibly could be is that since this level of firms are available in the public domain, those entities, those enterprises which are looking for the good quality audit firms, they may not prefer a level 1 firm when there is an option of a level 4 or a level 3 firm that is available within the same city. So if you look from that perspective, one, like I said, that it indicates that there is a lot of work that that firm has to do with respect to its policies, procedures, and practices. And second, that when it comes to the peers, that firm would be rated lower than the other firms in the similar category. Category of firms, not the level of category by the level, but category of firms, maybe by way of city or geographical area.
Okay. Pramodji, what type of audit firms are currently covered in the mandatory applicability of the AQMM, sir?
Vijayji, yes.
What type of audit firms are covered under the mandatory applicability of AQMM?
Yes. Thank you, Vijayji. In fact, this AQMM was mandatory for all peer reviews which were done on or after 1st of April 2023. And it is mandatory for all firms who are doing audit of a listed entity or doing audit of a bank, including a multi-state cooperative bank, but excluding the normal cooperative banks. Like state cooperative banks are not included, but multi-state cooperative banks are included, as well as the insurance companies. However, the branches of the banks or any auditor who is doing just the branch audits of the bank or branch audit of the insurance companies, they are not covered. So all these entities are covered. They have to do mandatorily. Yeah. Thank you, Vijay.
Okay, thank you. And another question is, can a firm which is not falling under the mandatory applicability can still opt itself for the AQMM to be reviewed? And if yes, what will be their advantages?
Vijayji, in fact, this is one of the most important point and the crux of whole AQMM. Sometimes what happens that many of our members feel that we will do a thing only when it is mandatory. We need to learn from, I would say, all the bigger firms. I'm very candid about it, that they don't wait for anything to become mandatory to apply something. They see what are the best practices and apply. Now, what is AQMM basically? AQMM is to self-evaluate at what level they are. Like Vishal Bhai just said that suppose they are at level 1 or 2. So they can always improve to go to level 3. Now, a audit firm to whom, say, AQMM is not mandatorily required to be evaluated by self-evaluated, they can suo motu. Suo motu evaluates, self-evaluate their what is their audit quality maturity medal as on date. And when they will evaluate, they will come to know, okay, these points I need to improve upon. And they would start working to improve their firm upon that. Say after 6 months or so, they can again self-evaluate themselves. So when they self-evaluate, they will be very happy to see that, okay, earlier they had, say, out of 600 points, they had, say, 200 points. Now they have got 250 points. So that gives them that edge to, okay, I can improve among others. I can improve among others. So all firms, all audit firms should self-evaluate themselves. Only those who are required mandatorily, they would be required at the time of peer review. But all those who are not required mandatorily, they can self-evaluate themselves. And of course, whenever they want, they can get that done. And their self-evaluation can be further evaluated by the peer reviewer. So all firms should invariably work upon AQMM, which will give them the edge that, okay, I am at this level, my digital competency I need to improve upon. I am not that digital competent. So let us add this, whatever they can add, whether it is a sole proprietorship or partnerships, two partners partnership or 4 partners partnership. So, or even the bigger ones. I'm talking about firms who are there throughout the country. It is not only metros or bigger cities, even smaller towns, cities, villages. They should all self-evaluate and come to a level, okay, I am at this level, or I'm not even getting 30% marks in one of the area like digital competency. So let me, okay, whatever I can do, and that will give them the guidance basically that, okay, let me add these things into my audit practice. So that way, I would say AQMM is version 2 is much, I would say, giving more points where they can evaluate, they can improve upon their audit quality. So it is a beautiful thing. Every firm should self-evaluate, whether it is mandatory or not waiting for it to be mandatory. And suppose they have not self-evaluated themselves as on date, and say after next year it comes, then what will happen? So a listed audit is coming to them, so they would want to know what is their level. So why not do that? So please, I'll request all members who are listening right now, or who will be seeing later on the YouTube, or they should tell to others that there is a tool to evaluate their audit quality, and then they should do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you please explain the AQMM scores and maturity levels assigned by the firm are validated during peer review process? How it has been validated in the peer review process?
Now, what happens? A firm has self-evaluated itself. Now, when the firm has self-evaluated itself, then at the time of peer review, a firm, when they fill a form, they'll have to fill a form, which is part C of their checklist, I would say, that Excel sheet. And when they fill it, the reviewer, while doing their peer review, will come and see that the way you have evaluated, whether the same has been done accordingly or not. So whatever is the self assessed by the peer reviewer. And when the peer reviewer is assessing that, when he's submitting his report, he would submit his evaluation to the peer review board. And when the firm is getting their peer review certificate, whatever is the level which is again evaluated by the peer reviewer, that would be showcased at the peer review board, where the list of peer review firms is there. There the categorization there, apart from the firm it is being peer reviewed, which is having a valid peer review certificate, the level thereof would also be is being disclosed, level 1, 2, 3 or 4. that is there, right?
Okay, sir. So, I mean, what kind of evidence the reviewer should gather, and what is the role of this documentation?
Now
What's the
again,
role if there is any?
of course, let us see that suppose I have evaluated my firm on all these three sections, and I say this is there, this is there, this is not there. So whatever I'm saying, the reviewer, when he would be evaluating, he would be seeing those documents, how I've done it. So all those evidences, because based upon that only, based upon that documentation only, that how it was evaluated. So I'm saying I'm having those policies, I'm having those, using those templates, or this is are my policy for the digital use of the laptops and the security codes. So all those documentation only the reviewer would be seeing. So when he would be seeing, so that's why that documentation which is required is very, very important during the self-evaluation itself. Right, Vishal bhai, if you feel you can add anywhere you want, sir. Yeah, right. ठीक है, Vijay ji, please.
Thank you. And see, I mean, what if the firm only do a AQMM evaluation and not peer review? How to get it done?
Yes. Very, very nice question. Suppose I have got my peer review done. I got it reviewed in 2023. This AQMM was not mandatory. Now I want to get, I self-evaluate and I see, okay, I've got level 2 or 3. Same. I want that to be displayed on the peer review board, the peer reviewed firms list. So what I can do, I can send, I can self-evaluate and I can request the peer review board to get my AQMM reviewed by the same reviewer. Normally, the reviewer which did my peer review would be evaluating my AQMM model. In any case, if he is not available, then the peer review board may be assigning some other reviewer. In this case, the peer reviewer would not be asking for the fee which is there for the peer review board. For the AQMM, there would be a smaller fees, which is all given in the peer review manual. If you see the statement, you see it is given. So they can get it themselves self-evaluated without getting the peer review done, and they can ensure that, that then after the peer review is being done, their level they have achieved would be displayed on the peer review board's website, so they can get it done without getting the peer review done again.
Okay, sir, you have answered the subsequent doubt which I have, like, after the AQMM review is done, where it is reflected for the firm. Yeah, you said it will be given in the peer review website. Thank you. And let us look at the section 1 of the AQMM practice management on assurance. How many subsections this section 1 has, sir? And which subsection have major scores, which is very important for the firms to, concentrate to get better scores?
All sections are important. Subsections are also important. So majority marks is in my practice management assurance. It has got 10 subsections if I talk about. And this total section has got 370 marks, out of which the majority marks 230 is for having your format checklist templates, which we'll be talking about in detail. Then also we have got regulatory compliances, which have got 55 marks. Then we have also got the service delivery, the effective monitoring of my assurance, which has got 20 marks. So workflow, practice manual, which has got 12 marks. So overall, we have got 10 subsections in section 10. I'll just name those 10, which is, say, practice areas of the firm, which has got 7 marks, workflow, that is a practice manual, which has got 12 marks, service delivery, effort monitoring, 20 marks, quality control for engagements, 8 marks, client sensitization, 8 marks, regulatory compliances, 55 marks, practice management, strategical functional, 12 marks, infrastructure, physical, 12 marks, practice credential, 6 marks. And of course, as I said, presence and implementation of the format checklist and templates, 230 marks. That is all comprehensive in the 370 marks of my section 1.
Excellent, sir. Section 1 of the AQMM version 2 is practice management, as you said. A weighted average score of 370 points, which amounts to 61.67% out of the 600 marks. What is the rationale behind giving that highest weightage to this section, sir? And how will it benefit the firm?
As we said, the 3 sections are there. Of course, human resource is one of the major assets. But ultimately, my delivery is what? Delivery is my assurance, reports, certificates. Now, if based upon which all stakeholders are relying upon, that whether it's true and fair, true and correct, reasonable assurance, limited assurance, whatever we give. And I have to ensure that when I deliver those, how and what processes I am using, so that the delivery of my final product, my assurance reports and certificates, can be effectively prepared and stakeholders can rely upon thereupon. Now, just I said that physical infrastructure, which has got say 12 marks. So do I have that physical infrastructure? Digital competency, of course, when it is there, we'll be talking about that. But then overall, if I talk about majority of because subsections are there, like we had under AQMM 1, this practice management strategical oblique functional, which was having the whole complete more than 50 marks. Now, crisping it and taking out and bringing it to others, now it has got 12 marks. So majority of my functions, because it relates to my service providing, hence the maximum marks have been given into this section 1. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. How do you think this audit quality index defined under this section that can affect the audit quality of the firm?
Audit quality index?
Yes, AQI.
Acha, huh. Of course, this I would say these are the questions based upon which audit firm has to respond, give his response and evaluate themselves. Hence, each and every such AQI is very important to be answered. Vishal bhai, if you want to add on to that.
Yeah, so rightly mentioned by Pramod bhai that section 1 being the most important, it talks about the practice management and with respect to our deliverables. And that is why the highest weightage has been given to this section. And furthermore, it has been granulated to a level, I would say, that for the firms also, it becomes easy to identify through the AQIs, like you were mentioning. That which are the areas that they can improve upon, which are the areas they presently already have certain procedures and practices which are in place, vis-a-vis which are the areas they can actually improve upon. So just to give an example where Pramod bhai mentioned, it would be coming later on also, that the 230 marks on the documentation. That is an area where we have granulated it to a number of documents, the checklists, the risk assessments, AS checklist, the auditing standards. So for a firm that, these are all individual AQIs, I say, within a particular AQI of 230 marks. Again, they are broken up into a large number of parameters. So basis this, it becomes very easy for the firm, one, to self-evaluate. Second, to identify the areas where they would be, they need that improvement, develop a roadmap within the firm on how they can improve from a level 1 to a level 2 or a level 3 or 1, 2, 3, whatever it might be. And this actually AQIs help in determining and identifying precisely the areas where they need to improve upon.
So extending this question, Vishal sir, is revenue from audit and assurance services is the AQI for subsection 1.1, right? Why is this AQI considered as important for evaluating scores under AQMM?
Right. So the revenue from the audit and assurance service under 1.11, there are now that what we have provided again, I would say an upgradation of the version 2 over version 1 is that in many of the AQIs, what we have given is that we have given categories, a range of marking that is available against the total score. And the first clause itself. So when we talk of revenue from the audit and assurance services, here the scoring is based on the percentage of revenue from the audit and assurance services. Now, what comes under audit and assurance services? It's important to note that we have statutory audit, tax audit, internal audit, sustainability audit, social audit, certification, etc. These all come under the audit and assurance services. And now what is required is that the total of the revenue from the audit and assurance services as a percentage of the total revenue of the firm of all the services taken together. What is that percentage? And the average revenue of the firm for the period under review is to be considered. I'll come to this detailing a bit later because we have also come up with an implementation guide for the AQMM version 2, where this has been explained by way of an example also. So now this revenue, audit and assurance service revenue percentage to the total revenue. If we look at the scoring, that if the scoring is 0, that means there is no audit and assurance revenue as a percentage of total revenue, 0%, then there are definitely no scores that are given. If it is from 0 to 20%, then it is a 1 mark or 1 point that is there. 20 to 40, it is 2 points. 40 to 63, 60 to 84, and 80 to 100% 5. So maximum score under this AQI is 5. The importance of this is that because we are talking of an audit quality maturity model, the emphasis is that how much focus the firm has on the audit services, audit and assurance services, and whether, so I'll just give an example. Vijayji, that let us say a firm has 75% revenue from the audit and assurance services as compared to the total revenue. So what would happen is that the thought process is that definitely audit and assurance is a very, very important segment or a vertical of that particular firm. And that firm would be able to specialize teams in respect of the knowledge enhancements, recruiting teams which are specializing into audit assurance, invest in technology relating to audit assurance, the softwares, the documentation softwares, maybe data analytics softwares and all, and also having a very focused approach as far as the audit and assurance, and therefore their weightage in the overall AQI is given more as compared to a firm who might have, let us say, just 25% as their audit assurance revenue and 75% of the other service lines that they would be having. So since the focus of the firm is on audit assurance, the clients billing are more in audit assurance, the weightage given more is in the that accordance as a percentage. Moving on, that how this is to be computed. So like we said that we have already categorized that what comes under as the audit and assurance services, where we have the statutory audits, we have the internal audits, we have the social audits, we have tax audits, we have the certifications, sustainability audits. All these comes under the audit and assurance services. The revenue from these services have to be aggregated for a particular year. Now, in case it's not a full 3 years, because normally a peer review is done for a period of 3 years, and like Pramod Bhai explained earlier that the AQMM review should be taken along with the peer review, so the cycle would be of 3 years. The total of the revenues from the audit and assurance services should be divided by 3, and also the total revenue accordingly should be there. So we would have the total revenue of all the 3 years taken together, the revenue from audit assurance services taken together, and then divided by 3, and that would get the percentage. Now, in case it is not a full 3 year, like in the example we have given, that let us say the firm has been established on 1st of August 2023. Then for the period of financial year 23-24, it would not be a full year. It would typically be just 8 months, which is 0.67. right, in terms of, or 2/3 of the year that is there. So if I talk of a financial year ending 25, that a firm is subjected to the AQMM evaluation, AQMM review, then it would be 0.67 for year 1 and 1, that is a full year for year 2. And so the denominator would become 1.67 to determine the average revenue from this, and the basis the percentage arrived, the scores would be allocated. So this is how the calculation of the average revenue from the audit assurance services as a percentage of total revenue would be done for the clause 1.1. Over to you, Vijay.
Okay, sir. Yeah, thank you, sir. It was very detailed. And Pramod sir, why do you think the presence of SQC1 manual with well-defined policies and procedures and giving the firm an opportunity to score 12 points is an important AQI? And
Vijayji, if I talk about, you take any regulator, whether it is peer review board, whether it is quality review board, whether it is NFRA, anyone. So if I talk about, we have got auditing standards, we have got accounting standards. Then quality standards, if I talk about, we have got currently one quality standard, SQC1, which gives a standard upon maintaining of the quality of the firm itself. And we are talking about the audit quality maturity model. So the firm's quality, maintaining thereof is very, very important, very, very important. And if you see all the reviewers, all the reviewer stakeholders, they want that if the system of the firm is having a good quality, ultimately the deliverable of the assurance would also be very good. So hence, SQC, if we talk about, today it is SQC, in the coming time it would be SQMs, but currently SQC is standard for quality control. That's evaluation, having that manual, having those policies, all 6 policies, so each having 2 marks, having all those things, would be, we want every firm to know about those SQCs and implement that in their offices. So if they are having that, they will be understanding that. So that's why this SQC has been given good percentage marks.
Thank you, sir.
Just continuing further to what Pramod bhai said, that we all know that the SQC is the umbrella standard as far as the quality is concerned. And there are 6 sections to the SQC1 which is there. In fact, if you look at these 12 marks, the breakup of these 12 marks is that for each section there is a 2 marks given. It's not the overall SQC1 that where a document can be prepared. Each section needs to be given that importance by the practice unit while preparing the manual. And for each section, 2 marks are there. So if in the manual a section is not up to mark or is eliminated altogether, that would not give the desired scores. And that is why extending what Pramod bhai said, that this is the very important aspect from all other regulators' perspective also, and even from the firm's perspective also, that this would, I would say, determine the path as far as the quality is concerned, that the firm, not just at the leadership level, but down to the lowest of the persons, will have to tread following the SQC manual.
Okay, I mean, it's well said. It's setting up the tone of the firm from top to the end. Yeah, well said, sir. In terms of subsection 1.3, the scoring is based on percentage of engagements out of top 20 based on billing, in which compliance with budget versus actuals carried out. How are the top 20 assignments based on billing determined, sir? Vishal bhai?
Yeah. So as you all know that, see, the normal process that as per the quality standards would be that, we would always make an estimate of the resources that are required for a particular assignment, depending on the background of the client and the other risk evaluation measures that have been carried out. If it's a continuing client and, the base, the experience of the earlier years, the I would say typically to sum it up, the KYC of the client, that you would determine that what are the resources that would be required in terms of their qualifications, their designations, their level, and also with respect to the time efforts that are required. So these are all but should have been budgeted by a firm in advance. And then once the assignment kicks off, then the actuals should be noted against that, and a variation should be identified with respect to the resources that have been used. Another important element when we talk of the resource planning is also that in most of the audit cases, the fees is determined based on the budgeted, the hours that would be, or the budgeted mandates that are spent at the various levels. And therefore, this effort monitoring typically between the budget versus the actuals becomes a very important part of the firm. Even in case of other clients, if we look from non-service means of our clients also, that these companies and all, they also have their budgets, annual budgets, which are there against each expense code or for each project vis-a-vis what are the actuals. And it is a very similar thing that we need to do. And like Pramod bhai earlier mentioned, that this is the human resource is the highest asset as a professional that we have, and therefore their budget versus effort monitoring required is very important. So ensure that at a practice unit level we don't have this requirement at the smallest of the client or also smallest of the audits. The AQMM version 2 just prescribes that it is for the top 20 clients in terms of the assurance revenue that is generated during a year, that the budget versus actual is to be carried out. Again, there also we have a graded system of scoring, that out of these 20 clients, in how many cases this effort monitoring of budget versus actual has been done by the firm. And if it is up to 10% of the clients, that means if 10 of the 20 assignments, if it is just 2 assignments where this has been done, then the scoring that would be there would be 0, because it is below par, that we would say that it is there out of the 20 marks. If it is more than 10% but less than or equal to 30%, so 10 to 30%, 4 points. 30 to 50% cases where actual versus budget is done, 8 points. 50 to 70%, 12 points. 70 to 90%, 16 points. And if in more than 90% of the cases this budget versus actual is done, that means if out of 20 samples, 18 or 19 or more than 90%, that is in 19 or 20 cases this has been done, then the firm would be able to score the full 20 points. Another important aspect over here, which I would like to share, is with respect to the calculation of the way in which the top 20 clients by billing has been done. And again, here also in the implementation guide, an illustration has been provided for the benefit of the users, where for each of the years, you have a list of the clients that is there. So you have a total billing. If you have, let us say, 3 years, then you would total the billing for each of the year for the assurance assignments for the assurance. So this is not a firm-wide 20 billing that has to be done. This is only for the assurance assignments that the top 20 billing, the top 20 clients have to be identified and rated and or ranked accordingly and picked up for the review. So it would be, so there is a possibility. I'm just saying that a client would be there in the first year of the review period as an audit assurance client, who may not be there in the second and third year. And in that case, as per the total aggregate of the 3 years for that particular client, wherever the ranking comes, they would be picked up accordingly. So I'm just giving an example of a listed company, a big listed company that is there. Let us say the revenue amount is pretty huge, but in the second and third year, that entity is not there because of rotation or whatever reason. But still, in the first year itself, the amount is so huge that it ranks in the top 20, then that would still be picked up or selected as part of the sample for 20. So this is how the 20 sampling is to be done.
Just to add, Vishal bhai, every organization have their budgets and then compare with the actuals, their financial budgets. What we sell is our time. So when what we sell is our time, so should we not have the budget versus actual? And in that way, if I talk about, many of the firms need to do this. Many of the firms need to do this to understand that whatever we are selling is our time. So let us budget and see, okay, till what time we are doing it. Hence, this point is very well taken into AQMM. Vishal bhai, thank you.
Thank you, Pramod sir. It's well taken. Coming from from the positive sides to the negative marking. A quick question to Pramod bhai. That's under subsection 1.4, negative marking is prescribed for advisories received from regulatory bodies like FRRB, QRB, TAQRB, and C&AG for partners held guilty in case of reference to directory discipline by any of these boards, as well as for debarment of firms as per an NFRA, or for cases of professional misconduct as part uh, of the firm or any of its partner. Will it have a critical impact in overall scoring, sir, if this negative marking is being given?
Vijayji, what we are having is audit quality maturity model. So we are evaluating the audit quality. Now, various regulators are doing it. For example, QRB, C&AG, FRRB, TAQRB. Now, let us talk about each in a second. QRB, Quality Review Board, and the C&AG. Now, when they evaluate QRB or C&AG, and they issue any advisory, then for each such advisory for an engagement, what is so suppose for one engagement they issued 10 advisory, but it would be one advisory out there. So if they have got an advisory from FRR from QRB and CAG, then they would be getting -5 marks for each such advisory. However, in total it will not exceed 25, -25, it will not exceed beyond that. Similarly, there are two boards of the institute. One is the Financial Reporting Review Board, FRRB, of which the Vishal Bhai is the chair, and the Taxation Audit Quality Review Board, which reviews the tax audit. FRRB reviews the audit of the financial statement of the listed and the other entities. So they are also issuing advisories. So in case they are issuing such advisories, they have got all the processes. A technical review reviews that, then there is a group which reviews that, then the board reviews that. So it has passed through the test. And if they are seeing that certain advices are to be issued, and the firm itself agrees that, okay, yes, we are agreeing to improve ourselves, that it means that they have accepted that, okay, certain improvements are required. And again, here it is 5 marks for each advisory, and aggregate 25. But there are, in certain cases, an advisory is not issued, but the case is sent to the institute's disciplinary committee, that is a disciplinary directorate. So if it is sent by FRRB, TAQRB, peer review board, quality review board, or C&AG, and the same has been taken by the disciplinary directorate, and he has been held guilty. The member has been held guilty, and in the prima facie opinion. In that case, only when it is held guilty in the prima facie opinion and thereafter, then there is -10 marks. And it is when it is the complaint is given by these entities, FRRB, TAQRB, PRB, QRB, and C&AG. Then it is -10 marks for each such reference, each such PFO, maximum -50. Then if in case NAFRA has evaluated the performance and they have communicated to the firm regarding the debarment of audit or backlisting, in that case, -50 marks for each partner or each such happening, and -100 in aggregate. It is not more than 2 in that way. And also the last one out here, that in case a member has been held guilty under Schedule 2, we have got in the Chartered Accountants Act, Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. So in Schedule 2, which is for my professional negligence out there. So if there he has been held guilty, in that case, it will be -50 for each such order, maximum -100. Now, it is not that it has to be a perpetual thing. it would be evaluated for the period in review. So if I am getting myself, my firm evaluated, say in 2000, 1st April 2025, and I am looking after past 3 years. So any such communication of advisory or PFO or debarment is there in the last 3 years, only that negative mark is to be given. It is not that if after 3 years there is no such advisory I've improved, then these negative marks will not be there. Further, because if I see minus 100 marks, minus 100 marks, so my total 600, I evaluated only 400, I got only 400 marks. And if I aggregate all these, it would be minus to every minus 100. So that the director has taken care of, and they said that maximum what the negative marks would be there would be 25% of the overall marks scored. So suppose the firm has scored 400 marks, so maximum negative, though it may be more than 250 or 200 or one, just for an example, but it will be restricted 25%, say 100 marks. So it will be having a critical impact for evaluation to arrive at the level 1, 2, 3, 4. But yes, that has been restricted to the 25% of the aggregate marks. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's well said. So there is a cap on overall scoring so that it will minimize the impact, is what you're saying. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Vishal, sir, a firm can score up to 8 points under 1.5 with regarding discussion of certain stated matters with the client, including to persons charged with governance. Why a graded basis of scoring is not available for this section, sir?
Right. So, Vijay, like you mentioned, that this is the clause where, it is about client sensitization and whether the firm has communicated with the clients, including those charged with governance. And there are some matters which have been given, like significant risk. So, communication with TCWG, significant risk, including fraud risk that have been identified, and auditing procedures planned, undertaken to address those risks. Key changes relating to accounting, auditing, reporting, or other regulatory requirements. Key accounting and/or auditing matters which arose during audit, and basis on which those were concluded, including modification of audit opinion, and then the key audit matters as per SA 701, and also significant judgments and estimates relied upon and its reasonability or otherwise. Now, if we look at these, I would say, points that are to be communicated, we have a standard on audit on the communication with those charged with governance, the SA 260. And if we look at these matters that have been suggested to be as part of the review, these are very much the matters which are there suggested under the SA 260, and also on the key audit matters which we have under the SA 701, which are required to be communicated to those charged with governance.
Okay.
So typically, as the standards on audit are mandatory for all the audits where reasonable assurance is being provided for, there is nothing like an option that has been given to the auditor that, out of these 5 matters, they can communicate just 3 or just 4 or just 2. If all are applicable, then all needs to be communicated to TCWG, to the client, or to those charged with governance. And hence, it's either you have done it or you have not done it. There cannot be anything in between when it comes to the applicability of the essays for this particular section, the SA 260 and 701. And that is why there are no graded marks that are given, but it is, like I said, either 8 or 0. So you need to ensure that a proper compliance with the related essays are done.
Right, sir. I mean, to correct my understanding, what you're saying is whether you adhere the compliance of auditing standards or you don't. That's why there is no grading in between.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Sir, moving to the next subsection, Vishal sir, is about the regulatory compliances. It gives an opportunity to firms to avoid negative scoring if it has been made sufficient disclosures to the institute for the fees charged as prescribed under the Code of Ethics to score 25 points if it is adhered minimum recommendatory scale of fees prescribed by ICI to score 30 points if it has generated UDINs within 2 working days from the date of signing of the assurance service. What is the rationale behind this AQIs and how does this affect the audit maturity of the firm?
Yeah, so like you rightly mentioned, that there are three regulatory compliances which are there, which have been prescribed under this clause. And actually, if you look that each one of them has a very different connotation. The first one, which you mentioned about the disclosure to the institute, especially this is with respect to the dependence of fees on a particular client where it exceeds. So the under the ICI code of ethics, it has been mentioned, if you remember, a couple of years back this was introduced as per the code of ethics, that the firm needs to inform the institute wherever the client's fees are more than so where we say a relative size. So the requirement of the particular code of ethics is that where the fees, the the disclosure to the institute to be made where for 2 consecutive years the gross annual professional fees from the client exceeds the threshold of 40% of the total fees of the firm in case of a non-public interest entity and 20% of the total fees of the firm in case of public interest entity. So this is what is there in the code of ethics. It's not there in the AQMM version 2. It's there in the ICI code of ethics. So that is the first thing that I would clarify. And where the requirements are that in case it is a public
Shall I just to add AQMM, all things are from the statute of various standards, whatever are prescribed, just seeing that whether they are prescribed or not. If not, then giving marks according to that. All things, nothing is newly created by CAQ or AQMM.
Correct. So like Prabodh bhai mentioned that you have the driving rules that when you are going you should drive on the left side, you should not drive on the wrong side. These are all there in the law. Now, as per AQMM, if you are doing those things, then you are given those merit points, I would say. And if there is anything which is not done, then you do this. So it's like a carrot and stick approach that we have tried to bring. So on this particular disclosure, that it shows the dependence of the firm on a particular client, which is there in the code of ethics. So if it is a public interest entities and 20% of the fees from that particular client is in excess of so 20% of the total fees of the client, then and in case of a non-public interest entity, if it is more than 40%, then the auditor, the firm is required to inform the ICAI. So whether this has been done or not, that is what is the scoring that has been given. So it is expected that all firms have complied with it, right? Because it is a requirement under the code of ethics that has been prescribed. So it is by default that firms must have or should have complied with it. And in case they have not, then there is a negative marking of 20 points as for this particular point that is there. So on an overall basis, when I look at the total of 600, there is nothing that would get added for compliance, but yes, there is a penalty for non-compliance. On a similar thing, it is with respect to the ICI's minimum recommended scale of fees. Vijay, you are aware that this is there announced by the Committee for Member in Practice, the minimum recommended scale of fees which are there. And again, here also, we have the graded marking. And so earlier we had a stick approach, I would say, that where you have not done, you get negative marking. Over here, we are following a carrot approach that yes, if you are adhering to it, then you get score, you get the marks, you get the merit points on that. And in case of the ICI's minimum recommended scale of fees, and this is again restricted to just the statutory and tax audit assignments. It's not across all assignments or certificates and all. It's just relating to stat audit and tax audit engagements. And if the 95 to 100% of the clients it is adhered to, then the maximum marks that are there to be given is 25. And again, then there is a graded approach, 80% to 95%, 20 points, 60 to 80%, 15 points, 40 to 60%, 10 points, and less than 40%, but more than 20%, 5 points, and less than 20%, 0. So again, there is a graded approach that has been given to ensure that the ICA minimum recommended scale of fees, the firms follow. And second, again, like we discussed in the first point, this is where it would depend that your revenues from the audit and assurance services are commensurate with the resources and the time and efforts that are being given for that particular client. And the third, again, on the number of UDINs, as we know that UDIN, it is more to bring about discipline within the firm to ensure that the UDINs are generated well within the specified time. And there is I would say, under the EQMM for the criteria, a 2-day period is given that within 2 days, 2 working days from the date of signing, if the UDINs are generated. Again, this is a carrot approach where we are following that on the graded system and the number of percentage of the UDINs that are generated. And now the UDIN directorate sends a mail every month to the members, to each individual member, giving the details of the date of signing, the date of UDIN generation. So it's very easy to populate this particular percentage as far as the firm is concerned. And the maximum marks that a firm can get under this is 30. So if you see, all these 3 are typically compliances which are already there, but we are following the carrot and stick approach for the firms to ensure that they do it with the right earnest and within the right time frame.
Okay, sir. I mean, we understand the carrot and stick approach on certain aspects which have been given in subsection 1.6. Moving on to the experience of assurance partner, how do you think that partners can contribute to the audit quality of the firm? I mean, if they have been associated with the firm for a longer period.
Yeah. So what happens is that because when we talk of SQC, when we talk of all the other policies, practices, they would, though the SQC are a general, I would say, global standard, but with respect to the firm's policies and procedures, it would be more or less firm centric. A lot of things that would be there with respect to the policies, procedures, the use of softwares, the formats, the checklists, the templates, and all. So now within the firm, if the partners are there, continuing, then they have that experience of the way and style that the firm is functioning, the areas for improvement that could possibly be there, and therefore a higher weightage has been given for the more experienced persons that have been there. In fact, there is also a provision that if employees are promoted as partners within the same firm, then due credit has been given for that also, because this ultimately is on the continuity of a person within an organization. And needless to say, not about just the audit function, but in any organization, the continuity of an employee within the organization always results into better quality output, and also helps in better implementation of the policies and procedures of that firm with respect to quality. And therefore, more weightage has been given. So I would say on the importance of the experienced audit assurance partners, and more weightage with more experience that has been given.
Also, Vishal bhai, lateral entry also, the weightage has.
Yeah, even for a lateral entry. So, because many times we've seen that at the higher levels, there are lateral entries that do happen. So that has also, if you look at the implementation guide, that has been covered there also with respect to the lateral entry, and even on how the scores are to be calculated on the last day of the year. And also all those has been given as part of the implementation guide.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, Pramod sir, Section 1 also provides an opportunity to score if the firm has a whistleblower policy, if it has more branches, as well as undergoing regular peer reviews. Why are these AQS considered very important? Can you please explain, please?
Yes, if I talk about first whistleblower policy, if I talk about, you know, there are certain matters which say some employee, some article, and to whom to tell some fraud is happening or some non-compliance of internal system is happening. So to whom to approach, to whom to tell? Because if the whole office system is to be fine, in that case they should have a policy of the whistleblower where they can inform through a say secret or unidentified email ID to a particular email ID that these things are happening which the management can look into and try to resolve. But the policy has to be there. The policy has to be there. So for that, the marks are being given. Now, as regarding number of branches, if I talk about, now, if I talk about number of branches, so we actually everyone wants, or the institute also wants, that the same type of services or the same firm should have it spread all over the country. So if we are having more than one branch, in that case, on depending upon the number of branches, the marks are being allotted, because spreading we want. In fact, many of our firms are operating as a sole proprietorship, so they may not be having branches. But we want to encourage and want to see that the total spread is there, and that firm itself grows, and along with them other grows. Act regarding peer reviews. Now, peer review is another a process, if I talk about, through which the firm goes, where its overall system, its engagements are being evaluated by the peer reviewer, and ultimately the peer review certificate is given. So depending upon that, whether it has undergone that peer review and obtained the peer certificate or not. So for that certificate, they will get 2 marks. So if they've got a 3, they can get 6. So maximum the 6 marks are there for the peer review. So that has been inbuilt into the equipment. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I mean, Vishalji, subsection 1.1, I think you have already touched on in terms of formats and checklist, where, the weighted average score of 230 out of 370. What is the rationale behind giving that heavy weightage for this section?
Yeah, so I would say that this is the section, like you rightly mentioned, it has the highest weightage. And if I look as a practice unit, that this is where I can score the most, because what we have tried to do is that the AQMM version 2, we have granulated this to almost, if you look at it, that we have 40 different types of the formats, checklists, templates that have been listed out. And again, further to that, the scoring that we have given is that marks for presence. So first of all, at a firm level, whether those formats, those checklist templates, those standardized formats, whether they are available or not. That is the first thing. So there is a 1 mark for each of the format template checklist that is available or not. And the second is the marks for implementation. So whether those format, checklist, and templates have been implemented as part of the audit service assurance services or not. See, it's not just important or relevant to have a format. Important is also to have a format to ensure that it is standardized process that is there within the firm, and everybody in the firm is using the same format, same template, and also to monitor that it is being implemented in the right earnest throughout. If we just look at it, it covers the whole ambit of the assurance engagement that would be there, starting from a client acceptance, continuation, and appointment formalities, the independence confirmations, confidentiality, and engagement letter, which is very important. So there, if you see that marks are more as compared to other documents as on the implementation side. Also, the planning, budgeting, KYC of clients, the walkthrough processes, the risk assessment, identification, analytical procedures, materiality working. Again, this is a very important aspect for an audit assignment, the materiality working and all. So if you look at, these are the things which actually an audit firm is supposed to do as part of the process. We are just ensuring that due credit is given. Again, the carrot stick, that you give a carrot to for all the documents and are there. And plus, we have also said that we want to encourage firms that not just to restrict them to these 40 lists that have been prescribed, but there is an additional point that we have given, that in case the firm of its own also develops anything, any format, checklist, or template beyond these 40 that have been illustrated, then they would be eligible to get 1 mark for each such format, and for its implementation, additional 2 marks. That is there. And again, this we have kept open for 10 such documents, formats, or checklists that could be further improvised or other than that 40. So in case, so this, the firm can have a total of additional 10 documents, and that would give additional 30 marks to the firm for developing further than what this illustrative list is. And another very important score over here is of 15 marks, that these 40 plus whatever additional 10 they have, let us say this 50, whether these formats, checklists, and templates are reviewed and updated at least annually or with each change in the respective regulation or statute, and a document is maintained for the review. It should not happen that I have a client acceptance procedure which is 10 years old, and subsequently, as a format, there have been changes that are there in the standards or the regulatory requirements, but my format has not been updated. Then it is not there. So just to give that further boost to the firms to ensure that they do it on an annual basis, and they have to document that this format has been reviewed by the firm, and these are the changes or there are no changes, at least on an annual basis. So 15 marks are there. And another important aspect for these 230 marks, that this has to be done for the 20 samples which we discussed earlier based on the billing, the top 20 that are there. And in all the cases, this has to be there, then only full marks would be given. So there is no proportionate marking, that out of the 20 samples, if the client acceptance checklist is there in 10, then out of those 2 marks I get 1 mark. That is not there. It has to be in all the 20. So it's like what we say, take it or leave it. So either you do everything in all the clients, 20 clients, and you take 2 points, and if you miss on anyone, you leave it, you get 0. So that is what is the way in which this whole thing has been structured.
Excellent, sir. I mean, so you are saying that the checklist what the firm has needs to be upgraded, versions to be updated every year, so that they can score marks. Otherwise, they fail to score marks, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and this can be one area because of the 230 marks. Vijay, sorry if I'm coming back in. This can actually be the area where if there are documents which are not implemented in a structured way in a firm, and they are not able to score by these 3 marks, 5 marks, 3 or 10 marks, they can actually start improving and moving up the ladder in the AQMM also, because it's a significant portion, 230 marks out of 600. Yeah. So it can be, and this can actually, that is why we have ensured that we granulate it to a level that motivates the firm to ensure that they are able to carry out good quality assurance services.
Okay. Point taken, sir. Coming to the next section 2 on human resource management, which is very tough for a chartered accountant firm. My question to Pramod ji is, how many subsections are there in this section 2? What are all the major scores? Which section has the major scores?
Yes, Vijay, as we discussed section 1, maximum marks. So it took maximum time of this webinar also. Right. And if I talk about this 230 marks, out of which more than 60% out of 370, 62% out of 370 marks in section 1 contains to this templates and formats. So very, very important, very, very important. Now coming to the section 2, the human resource, yes, of course, the most important resource for rendering of the services by an audit firm. And of course, it has got 6 subsections. Total marks is 150. And the major one is, of course, upon the employees training and development, qualification skill set of employees. So total is got 6 sections. 52 out of 150, 52 marks score is for employee training and development. 21 is for policies and practices. 12 marks is for resource planning and monitoring as per the firm policy. Resources turnover of the employees and the partners, and compensation management, that has got 21 score. Qualification skill set of the employees so that they can be employed upon the relevant engagement, 28 score. and performance evaluation measures carried out by the firm, KPIs, that is 16 score. So overall, total 150 scores in this subsection, section 2.
Okay. So, I mean, the HR resource management is a little gray spot for a chartered accountant firm, sir. However, section 2 of this AQMM version 2 is HR management. Vishalji, can you briefly explain the rationale of this section? How it will benefit the firm, and how do you think that AQI is defined under this section can affect the audit quality?
Sure. I think we have, Pramod Bhai and myself have highlighted the importance of HR in our earlier, I would say, responses also. That this is I always say that HR, when we compare our financials or the financial statements of a CA firm vis-a-vis a client or a manufacturing entity, we always say that the HR is the plant and machinery for us. Our knowledge, because that is how that is what we use to deliver the services or the deliverables to the client. And nowadays, Vijayji, Pramod by myself, we move around a lot, we interact with a lot of members, and there is one regular thing that we have always discussed is the availability of human resources, good human resources, and a bigger challenge is retaining them.
Yes, yes, absolutely
so,
right.
so when we look at from that perspective, the consistency of the good resources being available, remaining with an organization becomes very critical for us, especially being in the service organization where human resources we are totally dependent on our human resources. And I would also say, yes, definitely technology is there, but ultimately the output of the technology also has to be evaluated by human resources. So, that is where the importance is. And see, these are the finer aspects of the human resource. And like you said, Vijayji, that this is a gray area. And we when we were discussing the AQMM at the CAQD level, we didn't want that gray area to actually encroach upon and impact my deliverable, which is there as part of my practice management. So that is why we have put a lot of stress on the human resource, like recruitment and staffing, whether you are having the right qualified people, the right people for the job, for the assignment. Like we said, we have different hierarchy. In certain cases, you may not need qualified people, but for certain tasks, you definitely need qualified people with respect to the relevant experience, whether proper staffing is there or not. Even on the training and development, see, the way the laws are changing in our profession, I believe this would be the only profession where things are changing so fast from the regulatory side as well
Yes,
as the
yes.
technology side. I would say, and both the things where we are getting impacted, and therefore a regular training and development, whether it is there within the firm, and the performance management based on the work that is being done, whether the compensation policies are there, the employee relations, whether, see, these become so, the soft skills part of employees and all become so important and relevant in our day-to-day functioning. And I would want that, especially members when they are going through doing the self-evaluation, human resource is an area where actually we might need to focus a bit more because that is, like you rightly said, a gray area, maybe an area which we have not dealt with. And I would make a very simple example that, in how many, whether we are issuing appointment letters or not to our employees. This is a very basic thing where when we go and do an audit of a client, we check the appointment letters, whether the client has issued to their employees or not. But then, well, charity begins at home. So we at the CAQD feel that these are the good practices that as a CA firm, if you want to grow, all of us aspire to grow, but then we don't want that HR is a front where that actually pulls the growth of a CA firm, and therefore this whole section has been incorporated.
Okay. I mean, the appointment letter, as you said, it was there in the peer review checklist also, sir. But here, you came up with a score on that. There was a specific question in the peer review process where it says, are the appointment letters have been issued or something like that. Anyway, sir, Pramod sir, why when it is so important to have a well-defined HR policies? Of course, I think Vishal Bhai has already answered
Already.
few questions. Yeah.
Yes, yes, it is very well answered. This is because ultimately, otherwise, what will happen is that in a firm, one taking a different decision for the leave policy or admin thing something, or some one other senior manager would be taking some other thing. So defined practices and procedures, policies, a systematic way, so that again the system, it has to be, of course, HR policies and procedures, but it has to be system based, not person based. The person changes, everything changes. So it has to be system based. That's why these policies, etc., are very, very important. Very, very important.
Thank you. Thank you. Another supplement question is how the firm will be benefited by promoting employees to develop additional skill set by undergoing various courses. Because one of the section you said.
Yes. There are various courses by institute or by international bodies or other persons. Our main area, if I talk about audit, because it will include so many things, it would include so many areas, and the things are changing so fast. We need to remain updated. So adding to our knowledge, so it has to be encouraged to the whole team, the employees, the partners, the staff, that more and more knowledge they can give by passing or going through those courses, because ultimately that knowledge which they will gain through those courses would be again served in that firm itself. So ultimately the firm would be beneficiary. So it has to be encouraged to tell them, okay, you do this course, that course, AI course, GST, so many courses are there which keeps on updating and changing. So that's why that has to be encouraged, because ultimately that knowledge is to be served later to our clients.
Okay. Well said. Vishal sir, can you elaborate how HR functions? Of course, you have already said training, recruitment, resource turnover, and performance management will influence the firm's AQMM maturity, audit quality maturity level.
Yeah, sure. So like Vijay, I mentioned earlier was that, these are very important functions, and any organization nowadays, HR is an area where a lot of focus has to be there. And just to extend what Pramod bhai said about, leave, that different partners would give different ways of sanctioning. They would have their favorite, not favorite. But I have a major question on a principle, on a process. Why should a leave sanction actually come to partner? I'm on that. That why can't we have a defined policy that, if it is within the certain parameters, then it is approved by a subordinate to the partner. I'm not saying that approval process should not be there, but at a partner level or at a senior level, there are a lot of important tasks that have to be given. I would just compare that with a corporate culture or our clients. That is it that the senior management would actually approve leaves of everybody across the organization. This is how we need to look when we are talking of making large Indian firms. This is an area that we need to focus upon, that the roles and responsibilities at each level need to be very clearly defined. And this can come only by having documented policies and procedures. Definitely, see, there is always going to be areas for improvement. But actually, when we have these documented policies, when we have certain charters in place, I believe that a lot of things would move into an autopilot mode, and the resources in terms of time would be saved in getting the approvals, and then moving to and fro and all those things. So we also need to set up our practice just like corporates or our clients do. And once we are able to imbibe that, gradually 20, 25, 30%, you will automatically at a firm level will see the growth happening. Another important thing, Vijayji, which we have mentioned in this HR, I'll just take a couple of minutes on that, is the resource planning. Again, there what we have tried to say is that whether the firm is adequately balanced. Like in the management, we've always read about a pyramid structure of management. that where the top, you have a smaller numbers, and then this is how the structure, and then at a middle layer you have more people, and at the bottom operational level you have still more people. And again, because our profession also, there is always a review process that is required on the work that is done by one. The maker checker concept that we have in our processes, that maybe an article student does something, then we would want the manager to review that. And once the manager has done so, then whether the adequate staffing is there, it should, or whether the firm is that, you have 5 partners and then you have 5 employees or 3 employees. It's a reverse structure. And for a growth of a firm, to what extent that is feasible. So there also resource planning, if you see, and also the mix of the qualified and the semi-qualified or the non-qualified people within an organization other than the partners. Because see, again, the knowledge, the experience, the maturity would play an important role with respect to the assurance function. Specifically, I would stress on that, where you have the auditing standards, the accounting standards, the interpretations that are to be done. And therefore, the qualified people would be more competent to deliver the good quality services in that. So that is where we have included 2 questions on the resource management, to see that whether the firm is properly structured or not. And here also, what would happen is, going forward, if a firm initially is not able to score, but gradually it improves upon, then definitely the structuring would also become proper. The recruitment would happen accordingly of the team that would be there in the structure, and definitely the scores would also be given accordingly. Back to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think so. Definitely, with all these things, what you have said is it will have an impact on audit maturity of the firm. If you have a proper resource planning, then if you develop additional skill sets, it will yield audit maturity levels of the firm, is what we can conclude. So that brings us to the final section, section 3, digital competency and the AQMM tool. I mean, my question to Pramod sir is, how many subsections are there in this 3, and what are all the major scores, sir?
This subsection 3 has got overall the lowest scoring marks, but highest number of subsections. Section 1 had 370 marks with 10 subsections level. Section 2 had 150 marks with 6 subsections. Now section 3, but yes, if I talk about it, is overall how much is the digital competency there. We have got another board through which we have this DCMM, digital competency maturity model, also version 2, which is there. But here, if I talk about it, these are very basics, and we should have that, basically, that having our own website, having our own email IDs, our genuine softwares and audit tools, audit softwares, all those. So if I talk about this 15 subsections, the majority would say laptop and data security, where there are 11 scoring marks. The level of automation relating to audit process and nature of audit services, the audit tools and software which we are using, 11 scores. Then availability of the qualified resource pool and talent development relating to digital competencies, 9 score. Then we have got managing digital identity, 8 marks. Centralized storage servers, and that has got 6 marks. Personal protecting personal data and privacy, 6 marks. So that way, the whole section is there about what is the data security, what genuine softwares you are using, the laptop policies, audit tools, audit softwares. All those are there in the digital competency.
Okay.
Yes.
So the third section on digital competency has been newly introduced in this version 2, sir. How will it will benefit the firm, and how do you think that the AQI is defined under this section can affect the audit quality of the firm? Okay, you have explained very clearly, what sections, what are all the basic things that are there. And let us look at, with respect to audit quality of the firm, how it can be improved upon.
Of course, human resource is very, very important, but we have to remain updated. Now, everything is digitally recorded, digitally used. If I talk about our clients are using that, and we have to be digital competent to enable, because we have to remain updated. And when we are having those policies like using an audit software, using how to use an AI, having the digital libraries and all those things. So that will ultimately help me in enhancing my audit quality, because again, those would be system based. System based. Okay, in an audit tool, I have got audit software. I have processed the data, and I've got what are the shortcomings which are there. It is at simpler place, documenting everything through my digital mode, having that laptop, because I'm having that data and the security thereof, who can take, who cannot take. Ultimately, all those policies will be giving a huge boost to my audit quality.
Okay, I mean, accepted, sir. This will be possible for large firms to whatever is being said. But my question is how the small and medium firms uh, adopt to the score well under this section on digital competency. Vishal, sir.
Yeah, so just continuing what Pramod bhai mentioned, that this is by marks the smallest section, but by the number of AQIs, this is the largest if you look at it. And so, what again we have tried to do is the small things we have tried to pick up. And if you look that there are one thing we need to understand is that as professionals, as chartered accountants, important thing is the confidentiality of the client data that we handle. And the data that we get nowadays mostly is in the digital form. Uh, Now, if you look at some of the aspects that are being covered as part of the section 3, the digital competency also talks about the security of data which is there, the devices like you have also, whether you know the firm has a policy of the bring your own device. And then if an employee is allowed to bring his or her own device, then what are the controls or what are the firewalls that are there to ensure that the devices are being used appropriately with respect to the services. Again, if you look at the section 3.2, it talks about operational process automation. Again, this is more of a, I would say, a backward integration within the firm about having a biometric attendance system, and also the timesheets are being maintained, on a digital form. Because when we talk of the budget versus actuals, now actuals, how do you come to? When we look at part A, which we discussed in detail, so, whether in a digitized form, the timesheets are there from which the reports can be generated and the time sheets are being maintained on a regular basis with due approvals from the partner or HR. So again, on these, centralized file server, many times what happens is that there are a lot of versions of a particular document that we are working on now, whether that storage system, it's a centralized. So a lot of these things that we look, they seem to be something which are especially when we talk of from a small and medium firm perspective, these are very easy, doable things. It's not that where the AQMM requires a high investment in technology for the firms to score, but getting some of the basic things right through use of technology can be something that the small and medium firms can definitely aspire for, and maybe going forward become part of their internal procedures and process. So this is how I would say that the firm should just review the section 3 and just look at those areas where they can implement. And in our view, a majority of them are implementable by even the small and medium firms, because the AQMM version 2 at the time of development, we have I would say, in fact, we have looked at the small and medium firms that, how by implementing the various AQIs, they can actually improve on their firm maturity through the various parameters.
Thank you, Vishalji. I mean, it was a very positive thing, that you are encouraging the small and medium firms also to just get it complied so that they can have a better scores in this section. See, let me ask.
Vijayji, in fact, if I talk, Vijayji,
Boliye, sir.
In fact, if we talk about, the bigger firms, top 100, top 150 firms or 200 firms, they would be scoring, right? But the small and medium firms would be, of course, they would be, top 150 firms will also be using, 200 firms will also be using, but the small and medium practitioners would be using them to know, okay, what all we can improve upon, what are the best practices.
Yeah.
So they may not be knowing ki karna kya hai, but from this they can know, okay, from this we can improve. So that would be helping them.
Yeah, definitely. I fully agree with you, Mohammed bhai. And Vishal sir, coming to very specific, what is the importance of data backup, laptop security, and licensed software use? Because you have already said, if people are using their personal laptops, what kind of encryption should be there, what firewalls and all. Yeah, agreed. Can you just tell, for the benefit of the viewers, what is the specific important things for a data backup, laptop security, if these are being uh, the, this has to be evaluated in its digital competency? What's the importance?
I believe that rather than in the digital to competency, the importance those who are listening to this would feel at some point in time in their actual operations, they would have felt the need of having a regular backup because, uh, uh, I would never wish that it happens. But let us say you are in the end of September and someone's hard drive crashes. What do you do at that point in time? You don't have a backup system in place. If you do not have a backup system in place, where do you go to? And in fact, we have seen that with our clients also, that when we ask for them to, for the audit process to start, they said that, our data, something has happened and they don't have a backup and they need to, recreate the records or do everything afresh. And therefore, see, I think rather than a digital competency matrix or an audit maturity, I feel it is a need of the hour that we have the proper data backup, the laptop security, and licensed softwares. Because I would say, I will be very honest that softwares also, some of them or most of them which we are using on a regular basis are not so expensive. And there is a saying that we as professionals always share, that if the cost of compliance is high, then try non-compliance. Right. I think that very much applies to these things about the data security, the laptop security, the backups, and all those things. That, if we feel that the cost of this, the investments that we need to have licensed software or a proper digital backup process in place or a laptop security, if we feel that they are expensive, then I would not, like I said, do not want anybody to feel the pain of it. But I think these are something very basic things in the technology, the amount of technology that we use. These are some very basic elementary things that has to be put in place.
Yeah, I fully agree, because these days people are, instead of making local drives, they are using cloud. So obviously data crashed. The hardware is crashing is very minimal. Data losing, getting lost due to crashing of a particular device will not impact. If people use cloud and so on and so forth. You have really said the importance of digital competency for even useful for small and medium firms, irrespective whether it is for the purpose of AQMM or not. Yeah, the next question, Pramodji, what is the importance of using audit softwares in enhancing audit quality?
Vijay, as discussed initially also, of course, we are doing using now audit accounting softwares, and the data could be voluminous, and say number of engagements also. Now, using an audit software would at least ensure that the basics things which are required, and there could be so many softwares. It is, for example, CAQD, I would say tools we have got for materiality, we have got for engagement letters. So we have got those tools for standards and auditing checklists. So we have got so many tools. Now, if we go through that, everything having in your mind and then doing it is not possible. So if we are using those tools, So in the standardized way, the outcome would be very, very beneficial in giving the right quality of assurance which we want to give, enhancing of the assurance. So for that purposes, the as Vishal Bhai also said, there are few software which are very, very not that costly also. I was talking about the licenses. I would say certain software also, if you see the overall services, the fee which you are collecting, and if you put there and your certain evaluations, so your documentations are done through that process of an automated audit tools and softwares, you may not the persons, as we said, that there is a lot of turnover in the our human resource. So of course, then that software would be helping us. Okay, coming next, he can do that. So that would be really very, very, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So you're saying because of the complex and voluminous data, these audit softwares will help the audit firm to improve the quality, and these audit firms also helps in having the repository of work what they have done, and this will be useful for the going forward for the subsequent years assignments. Very well,
Yes.
sir. Is there any tool available which can be used by the firms to self-evaluate AQMM rather than using an Excel-based stuff? Vishal, sir, is the scores can be obtained by the firm for the self-evaluation using the said tool? Will it
Yeah.
will be publicly disclosed?
Yeah, so see, the scores would not be publicly disclosed. Like Pramod mentioned earlier, it's just the level of the firm that would be publicly disclosed. The scores would not be disclosed. And second, as a at the AQMM, at the CAQD, we have come out with an Excel tool where all these parameters, the AQIs have been listed. There are checks and balances within that. So when a score is being put, automatically it would calculate and whatever are the thresholds with respect to the even the grading. So if a percentage is put, then automatically based on the grading, the score would get populated. The total score also would get populated. The eligibility of 30% in each of the section would get checked, and the overall maturity of the firm would also get populated. In fact, the team, and here I would like to compliment the CAQD team led by Nidhi madam and the entire team, that they have even put a control as to under how many line items actually zeros are there. So it is I would say it is basically killing two birds with one stone. Sort of one is that whether they are the AQIs where the scoring has been missed. Okay, that line item has been missed and the parameters has not been given, or that is actually zero, which gives an eye opener sort of a thing that these are in the areas where we need to improve upon. So that also has been put in that Excel sheet, and the Excel sheet along with the implementation guide and the AQMM, these three, I would say, together would make our toolkit for the firms to get into AQMM, do the self-evaluation, and these are all available on the CAQD portal of the institute. So once you log into the get into the CAQD web page, on the right side there are all the downloads where you can get this Excel file, the AQMM, and its implementation guide, and a very detailed implementation guide with examples and other things have been released by the CAQD. So I believe that this whole thing can be said as a toolkit, can be used for the firms for the self-evaluation.
Excellent, excellent. See, thank you, Pramod sir and Vishal bhai. You have answered all the questions what possibly thought of.
And
I think
it's exact 5 p.m.
yes,
Yes.
you're on dot. The quality ensured. Tick mark.
Oh,
So
great.
thanks both of you for your excellent way of articulation of things. I think the viewers have got immense uh, inputs in terms of AQMM. Hopefully, it is required to have many more sessions on this to educate the general firms in terms of adherence to it, so that the objective of CAQ can be adhered to. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to moderate this. I am very honored. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nidhi ji.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much, sir.
Vijay ji. Thank you.
And thank
Thank
you to
you.
all of the speakers for giving a nice understanding to the viewers on this audit quality maturity model. Now I would like to request Vishal sir to close the session with his vote of thanks.
Thanks to the Honorable Vice President, first of all, who had come in the initial moments and given his opening remarks and laid the foundation for this not only this webinar but also highlighted on the various aspects of the CAQD that we are doing. Thanks to Vijay ji for excellently moderating the questions between Pramod Bhai and myself, and so that we could have a very detailed deliberation on the AQMM and the advantages for these firms and especially the small and medium firms to start doing the self-evaluation and going forward on that. Thanks to Pramod Bhai, the convener for the CAQD, whose brainchild it was to have this webinar to create more awareness of on the AQMM version 2, especially that it has been made applicable from 1st April 2025, and it is his vision where going forward the scope of the AQMM is going to be increased, hopefully. So thanks Pramod Bhai for leading the CAQD and coming out with new thoughts. And let me tell you friends that you keep looking for at the CAQD initiatives, because this year under the leadership of Pramod Bhai, we have got a lot of things lined up, and that would be released for your benefit. And last but not the least, thanks to Nidhi ji and the entire team at the CAQD for preparing the questions and making all the arrangements for this webinar, and also to the tech team for their support for during this webinar. Thank you. Thanks everybody, and
And
have
in fact,
a nice evening.
total thanks to Vishal Bhai, because he is so modest, but everything about CAQT is Vishal Doshi. It is not CAQT, it is VD. QMM and everything. It is his brainchild, and he's very, very passionate about it. Thank you, Vishal Bhai, for taking it by your heart. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thanks everybody, and
Thank
have
you.
a great
Thank
evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.